Hello and welcome. Can't forget the microphone. This is Jeff Bird, and coming to you because I've got some things that I want to share that are very personal, very meaningful, and I think will be very helpful to you. So I want to start by introducing you to this book. This is a book that's been around for a while, since I think the mid-'90s, but it's just been redone and re-released. This is by John Eldredge, and this is called The Sacred, oops, got a little glare on that, The Sacred Romance. The Sacred Romance. So G.K. Chesterton of yesteryear said something to the effect that every day we walk into a story, in the middle of a story, which we are certain to misinterpret. Wow, how true is that? We just don't get the big picture. I know I did not get the big picture of this story. It's been said, actually John Eldredge, the author of this book that I'm telling you, says that we are in a love story set in a world at war. A physical war, we see that all over the globe right now, but also a war against our hearts. Our hearts are the prize, and I know that was true with mine. And so the sacred romance is what we were made for. I tell my wife sometimes, we're looking at the sky, and I'm like, it's like God, it's like there's so many stars, it's like he's giving us all a diamond ring an hour. It's like that's his love, the kittens, the puppies, the flowers, the love when it's right, just like the heart for another person, or for them, or them for us. It's like the sunrises, the sunsets, the whales. We're looking forward to going on a whale watching trip here soon for Valentine's Day, or around Valentine's Day. And it's like these things are just amazing. They stir our hearts. They touch our souls. The colors, the textures, the beauty around. It's like we were made for that. But yet there's something else working in this world. It's not just the beauty. It's not just the romance. It's like we are set in a love story. That much is obvious. People have groups have sang songs about it. I'm thinking of this Grateful Dead song from back in the day. It's like, picture a bright blue ball just spinning free, dizzy with eternity, painted with the sea and sky. Call it home for you and me. Call it beautiful to see. Call it home for you and me. But there's a fear down here we can't forget. And that fear is the message, what John calls the message of the arrows. We're not just born into a romance. We are. And hopefully we get some time to experience that, at least as children. Some people never do. And that's really, really difficult. And that really takes a touch of grace and of this romance to get the heart back. But because the arrows just start from very early on. Our goal is to take our heart out. That's the goal. Jesus said, don't lose heart. But the goal of the arrows is to take our heart out, to cause us to lose heart, and to settle for other lovers in people, in escape, in addiction, in success, in overachievement, in something that makes us not feel that empty, that ache, just that ache for the romance that we were made for. So anyways, getting ahead of myself a little bit, but recently Wild at Heart, the company that John also runs, came out with a video series. And it was four videos. I'll post the link in the description of the stories of broken men becoming really good men. And there are some very, very powerfully honest, poignant stories there. People whose just hearts have been broken often. And what I saw is that as I looked at these stories, I thought these are similar. These run along similar lines. There's always a breaking with often with the father. There's this wound that comes in, and it's like, I know that was the case with me. And it's like when I was a little, not that my dad was a bad guy. He was not a bad guy at all. People loved my dad, but he was coming from a very uptight religious background, and just like, you got to do right, don't do wrong. And when I was a little kid, just learning about life. I mean, I was interested in the little girl up the street, want to know what that was about, and sex and things like that. And he did not know how to address that. He just saw it as either good or bad. And if my interest was in something that he considered bad, then it was like this anger, like this, what's wrong with you kind of thing. And so I just thought, well, something's intrinsically wrong with me. And and that's just what I picked up from church. It was always like, you got to do right, you can't do wrong. That's just what I sensed from them, and I thought, well, I'm just totally wrong. And so I was like, well, I'm just totally wrong. I might as well do wrong. Might as well, might be going to hell in a bucket, but at least I'm going to enjoy the ride, like the Grateful Dead saying. And so I was like, so I just did a whole lot of wrong stuff. Just looked for people the wrong way, people, places, and things. And the thing is that all of these things are beautiful. They're valuable. They're incredibly valuable, but not if you're using them to fill your heart, which is what I was doing. It's like my heart needed healing. It needed a touch. It needed restoration, and it needs ongoing restorations. Every day, it's got to be restored. When you look at Facebook or when you look at the news or when you look at people around you and stuff, everybody looks like they're just doing great, and it's like, oh my gosh. So it's like, what am I doing? Like one woman I know, one friend said, I feel like nobody from nowhere doing nothing. And it's like, sometimes that's the case. It really feels that way. And but it's important to know that's not the way that might be the way it feels, but that's not the way it is. But anyway, since I was watching these stories, which I said, like I said, I'll post the link to, it's that some patterns emerged. And this is what I realized. There are 4 specific areas of life that we all have. Number 1, I see them as circles, but number 1 is what happened. What's your story? What did you go through? What did you experience? What happened? Okay, the second one is how did you feel? So for many of us, we had things that have happened to us in our lives that left us feeling vulnerable, abandoned, hurt, broken, wounded, devalued, just all kinds of things, unacceptable. There's just all of these horrible things that we felt as a result of the things, of our misinterpretation of what happened. I've got a few friends who realized when they suffered some abuse as a child that it was actually the abuser's fault, not theirs. And I'm like, that's just amazing. It's like, wouldn't it be nice if everybody could see that, or if there were no abuse to start with? That would be great. But what happened? How did you feel? Next, what did you believe? What did you come to believe about yourself, about other people, about life, about God? Was it just everybody out to get you? You just had to survive just the best you can, or escape, or numb yourself, or feel better? It's like we look at things. It's like we look at like the alcohol rates and stuff, and it looks like such a glamorous thing. It's made to be such a glamorous thing, and I drank lots for years. So I am not throwing stones. I get it. One time I went and looked in my kitchen freezer, and it was just all liquor bottles. And I realized to myself at that time that you're trying to control joy. You're trying to control joy. You think at any time you can have a party, people will come over, everybody will be happy, you'll be able to escape, and you'll be able to have joy again in your life that you can't have without the escape mechanism and the other people who will buy into that. So that's the third thing. What happened? How did you feel? What did you believe? And then the last thing is, I've already talked about it a little bit, is what did you do? Because of what happened and how it made you feel and what you believe, what you came to believe. You might not even realize that you came to believe something, but you did. We all believe something. It's not a matter of faith or no faith. It's like, what do you have faith in? What do you believe? And then the last is, what did you do? Did you escape? Did you overachieve? How did you respond to the message of the arrows aimed at your heart? So, and mine just wasn't good. It was like, I feel like somebody on Jeopardy going, yeah, I'll take people, places, and things for 100. And not that people, places, and things are bad. Again, they're bad when you try to fill your heart with them. Our heart is not made to be filled with such things. It's made to be filled with the sacred romance. And so now, many of you know, so for me, I tried religion. I figured that's what my dad was about. That must be obviously the right thing, and it had some truth in there. And so I just got involved in it. But what happened is, after a while, it wasn't, and there's some people there that, oh my gosh, I just love them to death. Love the role they had in my life. Love their heart for me, their heart for all things beautiful, their heart for God. For the real God, not the little straw man figure that we have, the little angry curmudgeon that we have in our minds that's always looking around by Andromeda somewhere, always mad at us. We can never do enough to make him happy. Not that God. The one who is love. It's like, so I encountered some of those people, but then what actually crept in is there's, like, I just looked up the other day, and there are 2 million nonprofits in the U.S. There's a lot of need, right? We have a lot of needs going on, so there is no end to what you will be asked to do, especially if you're a fairly talented person, and you like being around people and you're good with people. I would like to think I am. And you're a people pleaser. Also me. Hello, any other people pleasers out there? It's like, so we just like to do things to make people happy so that they will accept us, so that it will help fill in that hole of non-acceptance that exists in our heart. So I'm not studying it, I'm not a sociologist, but if I were, I would study this. It's like, how many people saying yes to all these needs, trying to meet other people's needs, just in life, or especially in a church context, are actually trying to meet their own needs. They're trying to fill in a hole in their heart. Lots of narcissists do this. They can be very extravagant at gift giving, and then they'll turn around and turn another face, and it's like they'll give you something. It's like Bilbo Baggins. If you remember in Lord of the Rings and the Fellowship of the Ring, when he was after the necklace, it's like he wanted that. So, but they can be this very benevolent, generous person too, and it leaves you very confused. It's kind of like gaslighting. It's like you think you're the one that's just like lost your mind, and it's like, no, they got both sides. They are genuinely caring a lot of times, but there's also this very self-centered part of that, and you don't know which one you're going to get. And the blend of it can be very confusing. So there's that. So, okay, back to the sacred romance. So what has happened to me? Yes, I had tremendous religious burnout. It's just like I just couldn't do enough. Couldn't do enough, couldn't be enough, couldn't do enough of whatever to be the person I wanted to be, which was accepted. I do disc personality. I'm a disc personality consultant, and each one of those types, the D, the I, or the S, or the C, and we're all a blend of those, they all have a greatest fear. Well, I'm a primary I. That's extroverted, outgoing, influential. That's what the I stands for. But their greatest fear is rejection. So that's also me. The D's greatest fear is loss of control, being taken advantage of. The S's is lack of stability. The C's is criticism. So, you can put all this together. We've all got some of those, and that can be a very deadly combination. So, anyways, I got burned out on religion and just trying, and then I just started escaping. I didn't know what else to do. I figured I had blown it with the whole spiritual side, the whole religious side, and so I just escaped into the world of people, partying, women, this thing, and just it was not good. It was I'm glad for the people that I met. Some of the people that I met, some of them are friends today, and hopefully they see this. I was just trying to fill my heart. That's what all those things were about, and that just didn't work. It left me very, very empty, very, very broken. Eventually, most of those people moved away, and I'm still in contact with a few. But they moved away, and they got their lives. They're doing whatever they could think of to make a life, fill their own hearts, do whatever. And so that was very painful. So years later, in that brokenness, God was sending little grace notes, little reminders of his heart, of his love, of his compassion, of how much I mattered to him. And one of the things that I have had this book for many, many years, the original one, but again, this one came along just recently, this revision of The Sacred Romance, The Sacred Romance. And so what it talks about, boy, it is beautiful. It is a beautiful book. I mean, I've just sobbed through the first several chapters just laying this out. It's amazing before it breaks it down. It is so incredibly, movingly well written. It's like you just can't help but feel it. And so it's like the romance. When they talk about the romance, how beautiful and captivating and enchanting this world was as a child. And then when the message of this is Brent talking, and he's no longer with us. He actually died on their very first retreat. That's how much this is being opposed, I think. They were getting ready to do a retreat on this, and they were doing a rock climbing event, and they had an equipment failure, and he fell to his death, which was just beyond devastating, but it has not stopped the work. Thank heavens John Eldredge, the partner there, has taken over the reins of this and moved it forward, and that's like probably 35 years later, something like this. And they're one of the biggest encouragements to me. And so he just recently re-released this in the midst of doing podcasts and doing trainings and doing other books, and I'm just so grateful for the things he's putting out. It's like we need this so much. But the message of that life is beautiful. It is a romance, and that's the whole message of the Bible. It's not a to-do list. Jesus didn't come to give you a to-do list. Let me say that again, because that's a relief. Jesus didn't come to give you a to-do list. He came to bring the sacred romance to you. He came to bring love to your heart, to forgiveness. He doesn't do wonderful things because we deserve it. I was reading through the Gospel of John the other day, and it's like all the miracles in there. There's some amazing things. The feeding of the 5,000, raising people from the dead, healing the lepers, healing the blind, forgiving the women caught in adultery, and obviously there was a man who was an adulterer with him. But all of these things, nobody deserved it. It was grace. It was mercy. It was his heart, his romance. He's like, I'm coming to get you back. That's my mission statement, is I'm coming to get you back. It is a sacred romance. And as this is now marinated, I am marinating in this. I talk about it all the time. If you know me, you probably heard me talk about this. Personally or in a group or whatever, but it's like this sacred romance. That is what it is. We are living in a love story in a world at war. Sometimes the war, both internally and externally, gets so intense that we just can't see past that. But that's what's there. If we step out of the tornado, like a French friend of mine calls that beautiful statement, step out of the tornado and take a breath, look at the stars, see something beyond this little crazy human plane that we're on, where there's all these words breaking out internally and externally all the time, the message of the eras, and just start to delve into the romance. Okay, it's difficult down here. Jesus said, in this world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer, because I've overcome the world. He's like, just let me in. I'm standing at the door knocking. Just all you got to do is go, oh my gosh, yes, please come in. Please come in, bring the romance. Let me just abide in this with you. Let me just step out of the insanity of this world and step into this romance with you. And he said, I'm going to come in. I'm going to bring the romance back. It's like, it's going to be a good time. I'm going to bring you love you've never known, you've never even knew existed. I'm going to bring that to you. I'm going to bring that to you. I'm going to dwell with you. I'm going to abide with you. So that's my experience with the sacred romance. It was what happened, what did you feel, what did you believe, or what did you do? And for me, none of those things were good. Had some really difficult stuff, some very injurious stuff, some arrows aimed at my heart. Now, it was not intended, but that's what happened. And I thought, I'm just not acceptable. Not acceptable to people, not acceptable to parents, not acceptable to God, not acceptable. And so I just acted that way. And so that's what I felt, that's what I believed, and that's what I did, and made a lot of bad decisions. That I've deeply regretted, but I think I'm beyond that. I think God is helping me get beyond that place of the regret. Daniel Pink wrote that whatever you regret the most shows what you value the most. So if I regret wasting time, if I regret doing wrong things to people, trying to use them to fill my heart, what I value the most is trying to bring a healing message to their heart. And that's what I wanted to do right now. So that's why I'm talking about the sacred romance. Again, I'm going to hold the book up for the third time, The Sacred Romance by John Eldredge and Brent Curtis. Now, again, Brent is no longer with us, but John is, and he runs Wild at Heart. He has a weekly podcast, and he has a lot of books out there that are super, super helpful about just entering into this romance, out of this crazy world. I don't think many of us can find a place in this crazy world that's like, somebody said recently on Facebook, I said that this life is not designed to sustain the human spirit. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so true. Most of us it's like, wow, how much do we want another world? There's always the other task to do, the other kerfuffle to deal with, the other bill to pay, the other whatever. Then it's like, we're just not made for that. We're made for this space. We are made for the sacred romance, to abide in that and just be washed over by it and just be cherished in it. So I hope that this will encourage you to check out this work, The Sacred Romance, And also, as we think into these questions for yourself, a lot of us don't ever want to revisit those things. What happened? We don't ever want to see that again. It's like we think we're past that. But we are affected in how we feel, what we believed, and then what we do. We're still doing this. We're still acting out of it. We just don't look beneath the surface to see why we do what we do a lot of the time. It's like everything we do, that's on the surface. That's obvious to everybody, but then why do we do it? What's underneath at the heart level informing it? What are we actually seeking? So that's something to be discovered, and then to replace those narratives with the sacred romance narrative, that your heart is sought after and loved. That's the real narrative of Christmas, the real narrative of Easter, the real narrative of everything. That's what everybody I know is seeking. Some people might act like it doesn't pertain to them, but many other people will acknowledge that. And it's there. It is there. God has got it for you. All you got to do is just ask him. Just say, hey, Papa, boy, I'm so tired. I'm so tired of running. I'm so tired of looking at all these less wild lovers, as John calls them, to try to fill my heart. They're not filling my heart. It's breaking my life. It's destroying my life. And I invite you in to just put me back together. One guy that I follow on Facebook, Xander Stott, he was the lead singer and the front man for a band out of the Netherlands called The New Shining. And he was, oh my gosh, a hot mess. He was on suicide watch. He was clinically depressed. He took 8 sleeping pills a night to get 4 hours of sleep. He was addicted to like everything. And he said one day he just came to the end of it. He just kicked that whole hot mess over to God and said, Papa, just come and heal me. Just come in. And he sure has. And now he's the originator of the Project of Love. He and his wife Jen do that. And it's amazing what God will do when he comes into a heart and starts healing the heart. Xander has a lot on Facebook, and he's very open about his story. But it's like that's just an example of somebody very broken, just like these other stories I'm going to link. Somebody very broken, a very broken man who becomes a very good man. So better, like my friend Mike Poulin says, better is possible. Better is possible. And so let's just remember that better is possible. And when we invite the romancer, and he's going to rewrite our story in a romance like we've never believed. And it's not only going to help us, it's going to help the other people around us who are also looking for that. So thank you so much for tuning in. I know this was longer than usual, but I hope this was very beneficial to you. And again, check out the description for that link to the Wild at Heart series that I'm going to post. And I'll also post the link to the Sacred Romance book. So thank you so much, and hope you have a wonderful day. Until next time, God bless.